What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got 4 of the most underrated players in the 2025 NFL Draft. Let's check this out.
In late April, over 250
Okay.
young men's lives will change forever as they become NFL players.
Facts.
Guys have worked their entire lives to get to where they are now, and it's a culmination of years upon years of hard work, sacrifice, and betting on themselves, hoping it all works out. But with over 250 players being drafted, there are bound to be players who slip through the cracks and become a bit underrated in the NFL draft process. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing 4 of the most underrated prospects in the 2025 NFL Draft.
Okay.
We're going to break down their strengths, weaknesses, potential landing spots, and a whole lot more. And there is a lot to break down with each of the said prospects in today's video, and without further ado, let's begin.
Bet.
And we are starting
Gunnar Helm
with Texas tight end Gunnar Helm.
Nah, for real, this tight end class is deep too.
That is underrated. I think there's a couple of things that need to be acknowledged within.
Like he's not really like a flashy tight end, like big explosive, but like he's definitely clutch though. I'm gonna keep it a buck, especially in the playoffs for Texas this past season.
Or if not loaded, at least really top heavy. And I think this applies to the 2025 tight end class. You of course have Tyler Warren from Penn State, who had over 1,000 yards in his final year with the Nittany Lions, who is 6'6", 260, and is by every definition a first-round draft prospect. Tyler Warren is a really good football player, and there's comps to Rob Gronkowski for a reason. He is a phenomenal football player, and he will probably be selected in the top 20 of the draft. Then you have Colston Loveland from Michigan, who is a really good prospect.
Yep, and you got Mason Taylor,
down year in
Arroyo from Miami. You got Brennan Store from Clemson. Who else?
But I don't think the quarterback
Prescorn from Ole Miss.
Great in 2024, and I think the tape would show that. But he too is a really good player, and he will be just 21 years old for his rookie season, and the sky is the limit for Colston Loveland. Then you have other tight ends in the class, like Miami's Elijah Arroyo, who has been a draft riser and a prospect who looks really good.
He might go in the second round, I ain't gonna lie.
Junior, who had over 1,200 yards during his final year with Bowling Green. And obviously when you have a prospect from a small school like Harold Fannin, you want to see how they do against the big schools like the Penn States and the Texas A&Ms of the world, rather than the Central Michigans, the Toledos, and the Western Michigans. And no disrespect to the MAC, but being able to perform against Penn State and Texas A&M means a lot more to NFL teams than what Harold Fannin did against teams in the MAC. And
that was a
Penn
great
State
throw.
Texas A&M, Harold Fannin had 137 yards and 145 yards against those schools. So pretty quickly you can have a prospect like Gunnar Helm fall down the rankings of the tight end position, who is still a very good prospect in his own right.
Facts.
Now, when it comes to evaluating talent in terms of draft prospects, what I really like to focus on is what a player can do versus what they can't do. And if you watch Gunnar Helm, you will quickly realize that he's not going to be a field-stretching tight end, and he's not going to run a 4.4 at 250 pounds, and he's not going to bench press 32 reps at 225 and be some freak athlete at the NFL Combine. But what I think Gunnar Helm does well is all of the little things. He doesn't drop the football. He has really fluid hips. And I think one thing that Gunnar Helm does well at the collegiate level that I think will transition to the NFL level is if it's 3rd and 4 and you gotta have it, I think Gunnar Helm does a tremendous job of being able to sink his hips, get in the middle of the field, and be 2 yards past the sticks and convert on a tough 3rd and 4 or even 4th and 4. And there was a play against Oklahoma State where Texas was up a couple of scores, but the concept applies where it was 3rd and 4 and Gunnar Helm made a quick catch across the middle in a tight window that Quinn Ewers had to throw, and he made the play, and Texas moved the sticks. To me, Gunnar Helm is a really good tight end too in his rookie year, and he will be just 23 years old at the start of the 2025 season. And I think it'll
definitely be interesting where he goes.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, Freiermuth, that's a pretty good comp. Freiermuth hella underrated too in the NFL.
And both players can certainly use some work in the run blocking game. Now, I do have hope that Gunnar Helm can get stronger as the years progress and that he can become a little bit better of a run blocker, but we're talking about a early to mid 3rd round prospect here, not a guy that's going to go in the early to mid part of the 1st round. So there's a reason that Gunnar Helm is sliding a little bit in the draft process, and it's not because he is this can't miss guy. He's a player you know what you're going to get. He's 6'5", 250, has above average athleticism, and the biggest thing with Gunnar Helm is he does not drop the football. And I look at a landing spot like the Seattle Seahawks, who could use a tight end, and a player that would be a 3rd option behind both Jackson Smith-Njigba and DK Metcalf. To me, Gunnar Helm has one of the highest floors in the
And he doesn't have
25
elite
class,
athleticism.
and when you are in a position
Not a great
like Gunnar
run
Helm
blocker.
is in the 25
Schemed
class,
open
that's
touches
a bit
in
more
college.
loaded than other positions, you are naturally going to fall down the board if you are not one of the top premier guys. And I think Gunnar Helm has fallen a little bit too far,
especially in a very heavy tight end class.
Will contribute for the next several years.
Oh, what a throw!
No, the NFL Combine is this week, the release of this video, and one player that I think stock will rise significantly after the Combine is South Carolina safety Nick Ebenwari.
Yeah, like what's been going on with him, bro? Like in almost every single mock draft I've seen, I've not seen him been mocked in the first round. Like, he is a freak athlete, you know what I'm saying? Has good range, good speed. You know what I'm saying? He's a ball hawk. Like, I don't understand why he's not been mocked in the first round. I mean, I guess, like, safeties in general don't really get mocked high. But, like, bro, he's a dog. He's going to be a steal in the second round if he doesn't go in the first.
When you look at Ebenwari as a prospect, there's very few things he does not do well as a safety prospect.
Facts.
He can cover. His speed is phenomenal for his size, as he's 6'3", 230. And anytime you have a 6'3", 220, 230-pound safety, the comps...
Like, he could probably play in the box. He might be, like, a little too small, but he could definitely play in the box. That's a great comp, though, Derwin James.
Cam Chancellor and have that type of impact that Cam Chancellor had in his prime with Seattle about 10 years ago. But when you look at Ebenwari's playing style, I do see a lot of Derwin James. The only real negative I would say Ebenwari has in his game is he's a little tight in the hips at times, but when you are
he can definitely fix that, though.
Not going to be as fluid in the hips and as natural of an athlete as a guy like Tyreek Hill, who is 40 pounds lighter. So if you are a defensive coordinator putting Nick Ebenwari in a one-on-one situation on a guy like Tyreek Hill or a guy like Xavier Worthy, then no offense, that's on you. But for what Nick Ebenwari can do, he is a phenomenal prospect. He's a really sound tackler. He does a phenomenal job at tracking the football, and in 2024 he had 4 interceptions to 0 touchdowns allowed, and he had a passer rating of just 37.5 when targeted in PFF in 2024. And if you know the stat of spiking the football would have a passer rating of 39, then opposing quarterbacks would have been better off spiking the football than targeting Nick Ebenwari in 2024.
Wow.
This is a prospect to me that I don't understand why he is so down on draft boards. And even if you want to say
it's because he's a safety for real, because like you don't really see safeties get, you know what I'm saying, drafted in the first round unless they're generational like Kyle Hamilton. You know what I'm saying? You don't really see safeties get drafted high.
I still think he is a phenomenal safety prospect.
Corners, that's a whole different story, but like you rarely see safeties get drafted, you know what I'm saying, in the first round now.
He does a really good job in the run game, and sure, you can say that you wish he did a little bit better of a job given his size in the run game, but he still does.
Like, who knows though? If he like runs, I'll say like if he runs like a 4.3 at the combine, we might have to start having that conversation of him being in the first round. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
That it's not going to be a liability when he's near.
He can definitely have a great, you know what I'm saying, combine for sure.
Will probably run in the 4.4s, if not the high 4.3s in Nick Ebenwari. This is a guy that I don't understand why he's not receiving more love, though I do think that will change very shortly after a dominant combine performance.
I think what safeties. I think the safeties and corners or whatever are tomorrow, right?
And I do want to preface this with saying that because
corners are Saturday, I think.
Does not mean he's going to be a first-round pick or even a top 50 pick. And to be completely honest, I would be pretty surprised if he goes before day 3 of the 2025 draft. Now, I think there are several reasons to like Tutin's game.
Tutin really good as well, and he's explosive.
He had 15 rushing touchdowns. He averaged over 6 yards per carry, and he had 4.4 average yards after contact per carry.
Damn.
He was a really good player for Virginia Tech, and he also forced 60 missed tackles during his final season with the Hokies. There was one particular run that he had against the Hurricanes, who were 4-0 at the time, in which it was a 14-7 game. He broke a tackle at the line of scrimmage and took it to the house.
I remember reacting to this game.
He has a lot of positives in his game, and I think he would be a really good running back in a Kyle Shanahan outside zone system.
And he got a buck 41 that game, 7.4 yards a carry.
He ran for double-digit touchdowns, over 1,100 yards, averaged 4.4 yards after contact per carry. Why would he not go till day 3 of the NFL draft? And there's a couple of reasons. He is listed at 5'9", 205, which is a little undersized, and he definitely has limitations in his vision at times, and that's clear.
Kind of like Maurice Jones-Drew in a way.
That he should hit that, oftentimes he does not.
Oh my gosh, what a cut!
And that kind of escalates his average.
But
he also has a fumbling issue, and in a big way. He had 4 fumbles in each of his final 2 seasons with Virginia Tech, and he did not eclipse 200 carries in either of his final 2 years with the Hokies. I think you could have a more nuanced conversation if he had 325 or 350 carries in each of his final 2 years, and he was just this workhorse back. And even then, it would still be a cause for concern that he had 8 fumbles in his final 2 years with the Hokies. But the reality is this is a player that if he had a full 17-game workload in the NFL, he would probably have 6 or 7 fumbles based on what we saw in college.
That might push him down the board a little bit. I ain't gonna lie.
Competition that the fumbles are not exactly going to decrease based on what we saw over the past 2 years. Now, unfortunately, Bajel Tutin has relatively small hands, and when you add in the trifecta of him having small hands,
that's probably why he fumbles so much
at the collegiate level, let alone the NFL level, and then you add in the fact that he's kind of undersized because he's only 205 pounds, that is going to limit a player's draft stock pretty significantly before the draft gets underway.
And it doesn't help with how good this running back class is either, too. So, like, you know, he's fucked either way, but he's definitely gonna be a still in the draft for a fact.
I think he can be a really solid player, at least a role player early on in a Kyle Shanahan type outside zone system, and I think he would be a good guy to add on day 3 of the NFL.
Yeah, because aren't the Niners losing Jordan Mason to free agency?
Who has bounced around the league for a couple of years. I like Tutin for what he is, and I would absolutely love a team taking a shot on him in the 5th round and bringing him along slowly and having him be a guy that gets 4 or 5 carries a game and letting it see where it goes from there. I'm a big Bajel Tutin believer, and I think he has a really good skill set entering the NFL, and I think he will put up really good combine numbers, especially the 40, and I think for him specifically, it's a matter of limiting the negative plays. Donovan Ezeraku of the Boston College.
Yes, Donovan Ezeraku. This nigga had 16.5 sacks and is still not getting talked about enough. Like, bro, if my Ravens somehow, you know what I'm saying, get a steal with him, I would not be mad at all. You know what I'm saying?
All-American was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, had 16.5 sacks, which is downright insane.
I still gotta watch his highlights.
And run stops with 30. He has a variety of ways to get to the quarterback, and I think that's one of my favorite parts with Donovan is he has a clear pass rush plan. There are certainly times in the draft process with guys where they have insane physical traits, where they're 6'5", 270, can run a 4.5 40 and bench press 29
Hey, Ravens. Shit, I wouldn't be mad at this. Not gonna lie to you. Not gonna lie to you.
They have no counter. They don't know what to do if the tackle can stop them, if they can stop their speed to power, and once they do, they are kind of like a fish out of water. But with Donovan Ezeraku, that is not the case. Not even close. He has a really good cross-chop move, and he uses a variety of ways to set up the cross-chop.
Damn, what a
Whether he wants to kind of
spin move.
step his way around the tackle, whether he wants to stutter step his way inside. Donovan Ezeraku is a really complete pass rusher for being just 21 years old, and I'm not always under the belief that if a guy shows something that he can do at 21, that it will improve significantly by the time they're 24 or 25, but I am willing to go out on a limb and say that by the time Donovan Ezeraku is 24 or 25 years old, he will have a complete tool bag, even more than he already does, of pass rush moves. He's also a pretty solid run defender for his size, given that he's not 250 pounds, and given that he didn't play at 250 during his final year with the Boston College Eagles. But there are times on tape where he does get a little flushed out of the run game, and if he were to be drafted to a team like the Washington Commanders, and if he were to go up against a guy like Jordan Mailata play after play after play, yes, he would get flushed out in the run game, given that Mailata would have over 110 pounds on him. Granted, that is a very specific example, although I wanted to provide some context as to who Donovan Ezeraku is as a player. That's also not going to be every game where he would be going up against a freak in Jordan Mailata like that. But at 6'2", 240 pounds with the 34.5-inch arms, he is exactly what you want in a second rusher, especially early on. And if you are in a division-deciding game in Week 17 or Week 18, and you need to get after the quarterback on 3rd and 7 late in the game, and Donovan Ezeraku is the Robin to your initial pass rusher's Batman, that is a situation I would love him in, especially early on. He will turn 22 in September of his rookie season, and I do think the sky is the limit for him. Obviously, in this class, there is a lot of edge talent, and whether it's Abdul Carter, whether it's Micah Williams, whether it's James Pierce, Mike Green, Jalen Walker, whoever, there's going to be a couple of guys pushed down the board, and I do think Donovan Ezeraku will get slightly pushed down the board, but when we go back to the motto of scouting players...
But who knows, like, if he has a good, you know what I'm saying, combine, he's gonna definitely probably be getting some looks at the first round now.
What they can't do, I really think his game is pretty complete for an early to mid-second round prospect. I wouldn't be surprised at all if a team took a chance on him on day one because of how good of a prospect he is right now.
And if he comes to the Ravens, bro, he won't really have to worry about stopping the run. Like we are like a top 3, you know what I'm saying, rush defense every fucking year. So you don't really have to worry about that. All you got to just worry about is getting to the quarterback for real, because we desperately need that. Not gonna lie, we need a dominant edge rusher.
16.5 sacks and was an All-American. Another underrated player in the 2025 draft, and I also
I forgot his name.
Underrated draft prospect this year, but it's Pat Bryant from Illinois.
Yeah, Pat Bryant. Because I watched a few Illinois games this past season, and he definitely stuck out to me. Not gonna lie to you.
200 pounds and is a really good ball tracker down the field, and is also really good at run blocking despite only being 200 pounds. You know, you think if you have a guy that's 6'3", maybe
184 yards, 10 touch.
Expect the run blocking to go along with that, but for being surprisingly light at that height, Pat Bryant shows not only effort but also efficiency within the run blocking game, and I think this is a player that teams could get on day 3 of the draft, maybe late day 2, and he could be a 35 or 40 reception player in his rookie season. I think his game compares kind of favorably to Cedric Tillman of the Browns, who had a bit of a breakout stretch during the 2024 season, and I'm a big fan of Pat Bryant and wish the best for him and everyone else in today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like and subscribe. It's only about
very interesting.
Watching or subscribe and helps the channel.
Hey, what y'all doing? Subscribe to this channel, brother. He be having like some great ass vids, not gonna lie to you. But hey, man, it's a good vid though. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? I wanna know what you guys think down in the comments below. Y'all let me know what players y'all think is very underrated in this year's draft class. Without further ado, I'm out.
I'ma make them feel me, make them people when they show me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broke. But I know I'm chosen, I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.